actually created a script of sort for this, but I lost it, so I'm going to do what I usually do. I guess comedians would call it ad-lib, and just tell you what I think as I go. Cameras are a natural extension of the obsession with YouTube. That's just the next stage in the disease, basically. Your prognosis, who knows what that'll be. But here we go. The main thing about cameras is, among other things, size, complexity, and simplicity. As you get more into it, there's a chance your cameras might get marginally more complex, but it's not necessary. As you get more into it, if you invest in it, definitely your camera's function might not get more complex, but the builds might get more complex because it will get more expensive. Now, when you get a camera, the chief thing is, what are you going to be using it for? Is it shared between video and photography? Or is it going to be purely video? If you're going to be purely video, they have cameras that are basically purely video cameras. And they've got these hybrid cameras here, which is the ones I'm showing you here. The DSLRs, in this case, this is a mirrorless, and they call these mirrorless DSLRs. I guess that's according to what your definition of DSLR might be. So, see if I can get to the focus. This is Olympus OMD, and I believe this is a E-M10. And it came with its own case, which is very nice. Normally, some of the DSLRs, etc., do not come with their own cases. You buy everything separately. So in this case, I've got one Olympus lens here, and then I have another here that came as part of a kit. So, that's cool. So you can have one of these, and that's basically a hybrid. That's photography and a video. This is my largest expenditure. This is a Canon 70D. It's considered among the highest of the consumer level DSLRs, and it is both for video and for photography. All cameras are based for video and photography, but I'm talking about you have all of the bells and whistles, etc. Now, when you get into these, you begin to run into issues with, are you going to have an external microphone? The 70D does allow one. The EM10, which is the low end of the mirrorless line, does not. They both autofocus. You have lens focus on both of them. They both do autofocus. They both do autofocus well. The mirrorless DSLRs with their new adaptive type autofocus have begun to rival the prism-based DSLRs. The reason these DSLRs are so huge, the 70Ds and even the EOS Rebel Canons and the low end of every DSLR lineup from Olympus to Nikon, etc., are larger because there's more optical components inside of it that need to be manipulated. So they are electronic equivalents to the old DSLRs that I learned on back virtually pre-digital. So that's it. Now, when you get to these, now there's another issue here, and it's an issue with both point and shoots and with quote-unquote DSLRs, and that is batteries. Now, point and shoots are almost always internal batteries, like this Olympus Tough. It's just you plug it in, you charge it, you get it up, and then it'll take so many photos, videos, etc., and then you recharge it, which is great, but you do have that charge cycle limit. You don't have a charge cycle limit on these, but you also have a gotcha in that they do not charge through the body of the camera. So you have independent batteries, and you require an independent charger. For example, the Canon, I've got you there. I'm stepping over to my plug. You require an independent charger. This battery is fully charged here. So now I can just simply pop the battery out of there and pop this one in. And you need these for DSLRs because DSLRs will eat batteries alive. And I also found the same with the mirrorless DSLRs. Now with this, I had to do much of the same thing I'm telling you now. I had to I had to address the issue with the power here, because this mirrorless DSLR, like the straight up DSLR, is independently charged. It has its own charger. I'll show it to you. It's basically gray and not a lot different than this, except it has a cord. So I'm just going to take this, and this requires that I buy a charger kit. And you run into another thing. Are you going to get the batteries that are suggested by the manufacturer, which will always be more expensive than the third-party batteries? Or if you're going to go third-party, I went third-party here, and I purchased one that would support the EM10. So here we go. I have a battery the body of a battery charger, and I have 4 batteries here. So now I have 4 backup batteries for my mirrorless Olympus EM10. So I'm going to be pretty safe if I'm in a situation where I'll be out of socket reach for a while, and I don't want to take a lag to charge the battery that's already in there. I'm going to have several to back me up. So that's also a consideration. Now, the final consideration you need to do when you look at these is the cables. The DSLRs, with rare exceptions, almost always the old style mini USBs. If you've seen these a few times, you know what this is. It's the big USBs. The Olympus has its own proprietary cable. It has a bunch of different USB standards, and it uses one that's along this line. It looks very much the same, except it has a series of pins inside of it, and that's the way it charges itself. Unfortunately, it does not, even though these are identical. I bought these because I needed one specifically for this EM10, so I had to get these cables, because the Olympus cables, though they look exactly the same as the interface for this, are different. Drove me nuts for a while. I said, why won't this work? You'd think they'd keep it pretty much standard, but they didn't. And you'll find some companies, and that's rare now, that have a proprietary interface, because they know most people now are wise enough to say, no, unless it's USB, mini USB, micro USB, or one of the other 3 or 4 half dozen inclusive standards of USB, I'm not going to buy it. So they have somewhat shrunk the universe of USB attachments. So I just wanted to get you these. Now, these are the basic things you need to know. And when you purchase, this is with a DSLR or mirrorless DSLR, it's usually going to be a kit, because they do have removable lenses. I bought a kit for the EM10. I got a kit for the 70D. The 70D even comes with a video creators kit, just specifically for people who are into YouTube or any of the other outlets for video. So, if you want to do that, that's fine. I thought I would do a quick review of more standard video photography equipment, compare it to the action cameras that I spend most of my time using, and most of the time you will see with me. So I'm not sure if this is going to be very impressive to most people, but I think it's handy to know that there are some things that you need to know when you get a camera. And there's another thing, but it's not really a big thing. It's the memory choice. This is the 16 gig that came with this camera. I bought a 64 gig just as fast because they were pretty inexpensive. This is a standard interface, but you can get a micro one, a very small one. Unusual with DSLRs, usually they use a large format, but you can get the small format that has the adapter and use that there, and then you've got something that can transfer over to, I think the Tough also uses a large one. Yeah, it does use a large memory card. But most of them use small memory cards. But if you get the one that has the small card that fits into the large adapter, you take care of that problem. Well, that's all I've got. I want to do this a little bit since I've got a little downtime on my central focus. And I just wanted to show you, if you want to get a camera, it's great. You just need to know interface, you need to know the battery types. The rest of the things, the focus, etc., those are very highly technical things, and I may get into those some days. But usually you're going to, if you're getting into a camera that's a higher end, you're going for a specific reason, you're going to know that. Just be aware of the interface issues that you're going to run into. And this is basically for neophytes. All right, I will talk to you later, and you have a wonderful day.